We now welcome on a very, very special guest. We have San Jose State head coach Ken Niumatalolo joining the show out in San Jose, head coach of the Spartans. Entering his second year, the Spartans will head to Austin on September 6th. And Coach, thank you so much. Congratulations on a great first year, and really appreciate you taking the time to talk about your team.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me.
Just to start off, I think a lot of people may look at your history at Navy and they may expect to see a lot of running the football. Obviously, that's ill-informed. You're not an option football coach. You're a football coach who ran the option. But for you, what was one of the biggest adjustments in year one going from having to do, service academy style football to then what you were able to do in year one with your team?
Well, yeah, I mean, you're right, Joe. I mean, at the Naval Academy, we were an option team. I mean, we couldn't run conventional run plays because, our O-line wasn't as big as the D-line we were playing. So we had to, run the ball, running the option. So it gave us just a chance to be competitive. So that's why we did it. But it was also from a standpoint of keeping the opposing offense on the sidelines. And so our big thing was time of possession. If we could hold the ball for 40 minutes and keep their team on the field for 20, we'd have a shot. Remember when you played Notre Dame, they had the ball 6 times, and we beat them by a point. You know what I mean? And they had the ball late, and we stopped them. But we barely won, but I just knew that was the only way for us to compete, being that, guys are bigger than us and faster than us. But when I came here, well, let me take it back. But it was an offensive system. So we had, our option was if you did this, we're going to do that. If you lined up in a 3-down front, we had our stuff in the 4-down front, played quarters or cover 2 and stuff. I mean, we just had a systematic way to approach people, attack people. It wasn't this Rolodex of plays that you just went down. It was more of, okay, they're doing this. This is how we're going to attack you. And then we're going to just keep attacking you until we found a weakness or a hole. And so when I left the Naval Academy and I thought if I had another shot, I knew I was going to want to run an offense. There was a system. Again, not a Rolodex of plays, but there was a system. And I've known Craig Stutzman for, many years. I watched his offense. It's a branch off, obviously, from Coach Jones and run and shoot stuff. And I was involved a little bit with the run and shoot at Hawaii, not a ton. But again, it was an offensive pass system based on coverages. It's a system that, if they do this, you do that. So I love that, and I just love the stuff that Craig has added to his arsenal as far as the run game. So I knew that it was an offense that I wanted to run, and the adjustment has been not so much as concern, even though time of possession is still of value. It's the turnover margin, which has always been a big thing for me to make sure we don't turn the ball over and explosive plays. So that's been the adjustment. Just focus on those 2 aspects of, taking care of the football, getting turnovers, creating explosive plays, and keeping the opposing team from having explosive plays. I mean, when you win those 2 parts of the football, those 2 stats, your chance of winning a game are astronomically high. And so, it was an adjustment that way, maybe from a time of possession. There is a change also just from a recruiting standpoint, the NIL and the portal. But the thing I thought was good about that part of it, Joe, I think all of us were adjusting to that. I don't think any coach has a corner on that market yet. I mean, I think everybody's still figuring that part out.
So you're entering year 2. You're bringing back quarterback Walter Eggett. You also just added Robert McDaniel from UCLA. How important is it not only to have your experienced quarterback back in Eggett, but also to have some of that depth in McDaniel, someone who's talented out of the high school ranks a couple of years ago, as you try to enter year 2 of your program?
Well, super excited. I mean, this time last year we were scrambling. I'm still learning kids' names. Still figuring out the lay of the land here in San Jose and, an athletic department, just how things run. There's so many things as you get here. We had close to 50 new guys on the roster. Coach Brennan left. Obviously, then the portal opens again for a certain amount of days. Some guys left. And so there's a big transition there and things, learning a new offense, Um, it wasn't like the quarterbacks could go out there and do stuff on their own because they didn't know the offense. So it's so different this year. And Walker didn't start to the ending half of the season. I mean, we had a different starter at the beginning part of the season. Walker and Emmett actually went to the last week before our opening game before we decided who the starter was going to be. And then Walker ended up getting the job later on. And so having him back, it's night and day now. I mean, they were able to do stuff when they came back in January because again, he knows the offense now, and they could throw on their own. Um, I saw it in spring practice. Maybe some of the stuff that maybe he was a count late on last year. He's getting rid of the football. I mean, we threw the ball. I think maybe one. I think Miami might have thrown the ball more than us, but we were maybe the top two teams as far as attempts in throwing the football, and we only had 12 sacks. And so what Walker did even this spring, it's even more exciting because the ball is coming out of his hands. You can tell he has a better grasp of things. Adding Robbie has been awesome. I mean, he's a super talented kid that was highly recruited. But also, we got Tama Sunday, who's a kid from Hawaii that had a really good spring. Probably one of the faster kids on our football team. And I liked what he did. And also Xavier Ward is also in the mix. Played at Washington State, was at Texas State. So the addition with Robbie, I think, Joe, I think our room, in my mind, might be as deep, I feel like, in the country from the standpoint of most places you have the starter, but if you have a competent backup, normally they don't stay. They're like in the transfer portal time, they're like, hey, I'm out of here. I'm going to go somewhere that I can play. It actually kind of happened with Emmett. He played a lot last year. So when we told him when we were going with Walker, I mean, nothing against the kid. He's going, hey, coach, I want to play, which I get. And he ended up going. So I think the addition of Robbie and already having Walker coming back as a second year in offense with Tama, who did some brilliant things this spring, and I like our quarterback room a lot.
I know you can't replace Nick Nash. That's a guy who one of the better players in program history, All-American, now going to do great things in the NFL. But who are you mentioned one of them, and Tama, but who are some of the other guys on the offense that you are going to be relying on around the quarterback position?
Well, we just recruiting. I mean, we got Matt Coleman that started in the bowl game. He was an edge guy, our outside wide receiver. Moved him into the slot because Nick didn't play in the bowl game, and he had 120 something yards worth of catches in that first time playing slot. And so that was great to see that a guy stepping in for an All-American had a breakout game like that in a bowl game. Recruited Leland Smith from Purdue. The thing that's been awesome for us, we feel like, is we don't have a ton of money in NIL, but I think because of we throw the football, we open a lot of guys' eyes. The receivers are like, wait a minute. I mean, Nick Nash wasn't a household name, or a lot of people didn't know of him prior to the year, but a year in his offense taking advantage of his skill set. I mean, he was able to lead the country in yards and catches and touchdowns. So going out and recruiting was a lot easier for us this year. And Leland from Purdue, Malachi Riley came from Arizona. Danny Scudero is a kid from Sac State, did some good things. Jahari Johnson, a kid got from a junior college here. And Cooper Hoke is the guy that was here last year. Kyrie Scholes. I'm just going to – and we got another kid from Cal. Mason too is here from Cal, and so I was uniquely surprised that we were able to add on some Power 4 kids to a school that we don't have a ton of NIL money. But these kids are like, hey, if I can catch those kind of balls for 1 year, maybe give me a shot in the league, or maybe we also in our recruiting job we know who we are. We're not Texas, so like if hey come catch 1,000 yards of ball, and if you get a chance to go to the SEC or Big Ten, we get it. You know what I mean? And so I think kind of the offense has allowed us to get some really good receivers. Jackson Kane is coming back at at tight end, which we're excited about. Yeah, but we like our room. We losing Nick Nash and Justin Lockhart, and both of them are going to be in NFL camps, and both of them caught 1,000-yard plus receivers. But we like who we replaced them with, and we hope they can be as productive. If they can, we'll have a shot.
Switching over to the other side of the ball, you have some stars, some very prolific tacklers with Jordan Pollard, Isaiah Revis, Noah McNeil Franklin. You even got a former Longhorn on there, and Larry Turner Gooden gave up. You did give up 27.5 points a game last year, but what may be the next step for a lot of those guys as they're entering year 2 with you there? But your defensive coordinator has been there across a few different head coaches. What's the next step for your defense with some of those very experienced returners coming back?
Hi, I want to tell you about Laura Baker. If you're looking for a new home in the 512 or even at this point, let's face it, 737 area code, there's only one number to call. That's Laura Baker at 512-784-0505. As a member of the elite Andy Allen team with Keller Williams, Laura has helped Longhorns find the home of their dreams in Central Texas. Just ask our resident sex symbol, Ian Boyd, who moved all the way from Michigan to Texas with Laura's help. Laura can help you find what you're looking for in the 512, the 737, or even parts of the 254 and the 210. Just, give her a call at 512-784-0505. Her email is in the description as well as the rest of her contact details. She's a friend. Give her a call.
Well, I think we got to, first of all, we got to help. We got to play better complementary football. I think we are 133 out of 134 as far as turnovers, as far as us turning the ball over. So we got to improve on that dramatically. I mean, we won 7 games last year, but if we're in the 60s, I feel like we win double-digit games. We lost 2 overtime games to Washington State, and in the bowl game, we were up against Boise 14-0, had a chance to go up 17-0 if I'd have kicked a field goal, and we were beating UNLV at halftime. And so if we can just take care of the ball, I feel like we can help our defense. Our defense was second, I think, in interceptions, getting interceptions. So we were really good on getting takeaways, but we weren't very good at taking care of the ball. So I think to help our defense, if we can do a better job of not turning the ball over, our defense will play much better. We put the defense in some bad spots last year. But also, we got to try to do a better job of getting people off the field like everybody else, on third downs. But I think, I like what our guys did in spring, but yeah, we can definitely get better on defense. But I think as we play better complementary football, it can be a big benefit for our defense.
Kind of to that point, like I mentioned, Derek Odom has been there for a long time, I think he's been there almost a decade. How much has he helped you just to kind of understand what this job is like, to keeping players together is so important because like you mentioned when Coach Brennan left, that allowed him to leave, kept a familiar face around. How important has he been to helping you here in your second year?
Well, he was super instrumental in us keeping Nick Nash. He recruited Nick Nash. And so Nick stayed because, a big part of it was offense with Coach Stutz coming, but also Coach Odom recruited him. But also Swanee Toya was our best player last year. And having Coach Odom come back was a big reason that he stayed last year. But, I was, being a head coach for many years and having sat in a lot of head coaches meetings with different head coaches when I was an American. A lot of those guys that I was with went out to Power 5 jobs and different places. Coach Odom's is as good a coach as any of those guys. I mean, he's a really, really good football coach. The players love him. They play hard for him. I love what we do schematically. He knew exactly the lay of the land of this place, recognizing that, we call ourselves the one sauce team, that, we may not eat like everybody else and get ribeyes and stuff. We might have burritos you get your one choice of salsa verde or salsa roja, one red or green. But he was the guy to talk, like, hey, coach, this is a grimy place. You need grimy, tough, hard-nosed kids that aren't concerned about the portal and how much money they're getting. They're just excited for a chance to play. And it was him. It was Coach Odoms that kind of told me the type of kids that are going to survive here and thrive here. And like I said, our kids love him. They play hard for him. And, he's a head coach, and I mean, he's a head coach already, and wouldn't be surprised in the near future he becomes a head football coach.
I know September 6th is a long way away, just over 100 days away, but it'll be here before you know it. And I know you've been through the roster building process. You've been adding players. Have you been able to have any time to kind of look at what Texas offers and just some, 100-day away, 3-month away thoughts on what the Longhorns have this year?
Well, because they're on TV so much last year, I watched them a ton. I know Sark a little bit. I mean, I was when he was a young coach, came to interview at UNLV in the late '90s. Knew him when he was at BYU. Just knew of him, when he played. But I, got to be around him at a couple bowl game functions. When he was at SC, they were playing in the Holiday Bowl, and we were playing in the Poinsettia Bowl. And so, got to meet him there. And phenomenal football coach. I mean, he's a true NFL type coach. Like you see the McVays of the world, or the Shanahans, the McDonald's. The head coaches that call plays. Obviously, that's Sark, and he's a brilliant play caller. Really, anytime Texas plays, I love to watch Texas play because I just watch the way he calls. I like the way he sets things up. You know what I mean? And just see him over there squatting down, looking at his call sheet. But that's what I like to watch as a college football coach. I just watch other coaches, especially guys like him, play calling. I think he's a master, one of the best in the country at calling plays. He's done a really good job of getting Texas to where everybody believes they should be, where they're perennially now in the conversation for national championship. Not just, back when in the Big 12 for a Big 12 championship or whatever. They're always in the conversation and being in the playoffs, being a national champion, being ranked 1 through 3 and 4. And so you see in the combine how many Longhorns there were and how many guys are drafted. So it's a testament to what he's done there. I mean, they're obviously one of the blue bloods in college football, but he's taken them to a place where I know that all Longhorn fans have always expected you guys to be at, where you guys are always competing, or Texas is always in the conversations with Alabama and LSU and Ohio State, and all the recognition that that Texas is getting is well deserved. Like I said, I've seen a ton of games. I saw a ton last year because they're on TV so much, and whether we were in a hotel and watching Texas on, and like I said, I love to watch because I love to watch Sark call plays. It's gonna be a tall order for us. I mean, their roster is as good as anybody. It's going to be up there, obviously, with them. And you look at some of the stuff happen, probably them and Ohio State will still probably be the top roster teams. And it's kind of interesting. Obviously, they're playing before we play, but their roster, unfortunately for us, is really, really good.
Last thing I always like looking up where people come from, their hometowns. You're from Lae, Hawaii. They're on the North Shore. Texas has a starting linebacker in Leonga Lafau from Kahuku, from Lae. How cool is it just to see, someone from your hometown, from Hawaii, playing and starting for a team like Texas, and just how much throughout all of college football you see more and more talent from the islands head to the mainland.
Yeah, super proud of him. Really good player. Physical kid. You watch him in the playoffs. He's all over the field. But if in the North Shore, there's not much to do there. Laie, in that small little town, there's a park there, Laie Park, where everybody grew up either playing basketball or on the grass field. There's either rugby or football going on. Kahuku's always been a power there, and they've had great football players for years. So it's really cool to see how well he's doing, especially going to a place like Texas. So really proud and happy for him. And it's really cool to have a guy coming from the North Shore of Oahu all the way to Austin and doing really well.
I'd always heard covering him in recruiting, it's kind of country a little bit, and so you would think maybe going to Austin would be a big transition, but it sounds like he's fit in well, and obviously has found a lot of success. And yeah, unfortunately, you're gonna have to look out for him on September 6th.
Yeah, I don't think we'll have to look much for him. I think he'll have a way of finding the ball. So we'll see. he has a way to finding who has the football. So yeah, he'll find us.
Coach, thank you so much. I appreciate it. I look forward to seeing you in Austin in September, and looking forward to seeing what the Spartans do this year.
Okay, thank you. Thanks for having me. Take care, Joe.